Hi, everyone. This is Kay. Tonight I was out stargazing. I have an area north of town in a very low lit area where I can walk at night under the stars and see the stars. We have a waxing gibbous moon, and it's conjunct the Pleiades. Now, it never says that in my ephemeris. And I do remember about 7 years ago when Venus was conjunct the Pleiades in May, and it was a magical time. And I have to say, it's a magical time for me right now. It's not a magical time if I lived in LA, but I don't. It would not be a magical time if I lived in Gaza, but I don't. So here, I live in Northern California. It's a magical time for me. And what I contemplate when I'm not looking at an ephemeris or an astrology wheel with all of the data and all of the chart points, when I go out and look at the sky, it seems like everything's in the same position as it rotates around on the axis on the ecliptic every year, but it's not. It changes from year to year. The light changes. Another thing is, nobody really even notices if the moon's conjunct Pleiades or Venus is conjunct Pleiades. I asked one astrologer about Venus conjuncting Pleiades, and he said, "Oh, well, that probably happens every May." Well, it hasn't happened since 2018 when I was out there and I saw it. Part of that, it passes by, but part of that is that the Earth on its axis has a little wobble. So it tilts as it goes around from side to side. So things are slightly different in the sky. I don't know when the moon will be conjunct the Pleiades again. What I'm saying is that astrology is unique in every moment, in every day. And the wonderful astrologer Caroline Casey said, history doesn't repeat itself, but it sure does rhyme. And yes, it rhymes, but astrologers can only be accurate according to their being. So in my being, when there's a conjunction with the Pleiades, there's an extraordinary energy that comes through my life. Now, I'm kind of fortunate that there's no disaster happening at this moment. But even when there have been disasters, there has been a coinciding blessing. But a lot of my attention is taken by the disaster. I happen to have not a surplus, but a large portion of my attention available for the magic and the blessings of this Pleiadian light that's coming through. That's my particular quality of astrology. But there are particular fields of information that are particular to each astrologer. They're qualitative fields. Each one has their own angle on it and their own take on it. Every movement in my world is unique. There are large patterns that we can notice. Each individual expresses those large patterns very differently. And coming into a full-bodied, full, heart-centered, wide awake awareness of what it feels like when these movements are happening is what interests me most with astrology. But I feel an internal deep connection with the Pleiadian light. If you have a chance to go out where you can actually see the Pleiades, it's straight up overhead around 10 p.m. Take a moment, feel the Pleiadian light in your heart, and feel where you feel the magic, especially as the moon gathers that energy and then moves toward full moon in the next 3 days. I send out a prayer of light, cooling, healing light to all of those people in the fires in Southern California. I really understand those tribulations, having lived in Northern California. But all over the world, there's a prayer for everyone experiencing extreme difficulty, where most of their attention is grabbed by the difficulty. So those of us who can, take a deep breath and send a prayer to all of the people who can't. And then if and when we're in a huge challenge, perhaps the flavor and the favor of light will be returned. Okay, see you next time. Bye-bye. www.circleofbreath.com/sacred astrology.